This is going to be the only beginner guide you need to the Tech Reborn fabric mod. As you can see behind me, I'll be taking you through everything that exists in the low voltage stages of Tech Reborn, setting you up to go onto the higher stages. And if you do want to see those stages, then check out my ultimate guide in the playlist you'll see at the end of this video. The first thing you're going to want to do in Tech Reborn is find some rubber trees, and that is so that you can get resin and rubber. This here is a rubber tree. They generally have a too high leaf on top, so that's how you can tell it's a rubber tree if you're far away. Always look for the too high at the top. Now, what you're going to find on these rubber trees are sometimes bits of resin. I don't know if there's any on this one now. So this is what the resin looks like. It looks like this on the rubber log. You see there's a lot of orange bits? And what we can then do is use a tree tap in order to collect that resin. So it's just made of some planks and a stick. One thing I should mention is that if you are using Tech Reborn, there is a really great way to see the recipes, and that is using JEI, which I've got a tutorial for on the channel, or EMI, which is a recipe viewer, so you can see these recipes up here. What I would also recommend downloading and installing is this one here, EMI Extra Integrations, and it says Tech Reborn here is compatible with it. And this is going to really help you see the recipes that you can get in this mod. So make the tree tap, and then you just right click it on the rubber logs of the resin, and you will get pieces of sap. And this sap can then be smelted into rubber, which we're going to need for a lot of recipes in Tech Reborn. What you can also do is make one of these, a resin basin. This is going to need a tree tap, a drain made with iron plates, and I'm going to be showing you how to make these shortly. It needs a compressor machine, but this is a bit later. So once you've got some automation and some machines set up, you can then make this this resin basin, and you basically just put it against the rubber tree like this. So I could put it here, and what you'll see flowing out of the tree every now and then is going to be some resin. You can simply put a chest below it and collect the sap. For example, if I put my resin basin here, you can see the resin actually flowing out of it. And this is passively going to happen over time, going into the chest beneath it, meaning that you can set up an automatic farm for your sap and resin. But like I said, you do need a compressor and a few more basic machines before you are able to do this, and that's going to be a bit further on in the mod. So one of the things we are going to need to get all of these machines running is early game power. So how do we do that? Well, the first machine you're going to want to make early game power in Tech Reborn will be a generator. This generator is made using a furnace, a basic machine frame, which needs refined iron. Refined iron is made by simply smelting up your normal iron ingots. We also need a red cell battery, which uses lead, which is another resource that we get as a new ore added by Tech Reborn, and insulated copper cables. That is with the rubber you've made from your sap and resin. I always forget if it's called sap or resin, so I just say both. I'm like, what's it called again? And copper ingots. Now, if you make copper cables, which is how we're going to transport the energy, this is going to shock you, electric shock. And you can use rubber to insulate it, meaning that you won't get shocked when touching the copper cables. In the generator, you simply put in some blocks of coal, or just normal coal, and it will burn them up to make electricity. Using a generator, you can also then make a water mill. This water mill, you basically put water on each side of it, and it will make power out of the water, and you can obviously extract power from it. Or you could even make solar panels. So there's a basic solar panel, an advanced, and industrial. Now there is higher tiers of solar panels, however these three are able to be made early game. The basic one being made with just some basic bits and bobs, coal dust, which you will need another machine for, which I haven't shown you at this point. And then an advanced one, which is pretty much, it's basically the same, apart from an advanced circuit, which is an upgrade to the basic one. And then an industrial solar panel, which just needs diamond dust, which you can grind those up into machines as well. There's also, up here, a windmill, which must be placed at Y level 64 or higher, otherwise it just won't work. But when you place it at Y64 or higher, it will actually use the wind in order to generate power. So thankfully I've managed to yap for enough time for me to get up here. And as you can see, the windmill is going, and we're at Y71. And these are the basic ways that you can actually make power in early game Tech Reborn. So how do we then transport that power around? Well, you can see here I've got a long line of cables. We've got tin cable, copper, gold, high voltage, glass fiber, and superconductor. So tin cannot be insulated, but will shock you. Copper, it'll shock you. Insulated won't. Same with gold and HV. Glass fiber and superconductor will not shock you because they're just so advanced. So there's different tiers of electricity. Tin is low voltage, which is 32 electricity per tick. Copper is medium and can transfer 128 per tick. Insulated is the same. Gold is high voltage. And then the high voltage cable is actually extreme voltage, so a bit confusing. Glass fiber is insane voltage at 8,000 electricity per tick, and superconductor is actually 536 million per tick, and it's basically infinite, basically. So for the insulated ones, you literally just put rubber on them, whereas the basic ones like copper and gold, etc., you just literally put 3 in a row. What we can then do, for example, on the back of my generator is hook up the copper cable into my grinder and my electric furnace to power these machines. There is batteries, etc., but I haven't shown you those at this point. But that's how we make basic electricity and transport it in the early game of Tech Reborn. Now let's have a look at the basic machines we can use and make. So when we go into the generator, you can see here there's configurator slots. And basically you can see orange means output, blue means input, green means both. So let's say the input of the coal, I can click on this and say I want the left to be input. So input into this slot from the left of the machine and output on the right of the machine. So I can have a chest here of the coal and it would go in, and a chest here where, well, nothing would go out because it's not really an outputting block. And then redstone control, do you want redstone to be only the items will input and output when redstone is on, when it's off, or when it's completely ignored? And the same for power, input and output. That's what I/O means, input, output. Do we want it to only work with redstone off, ignored, or on? So on ignored, it won't give a damn about redstone at all. So the first machine you're probably going to want to make is a grinder. This can make things like coal dust being needed for the solar panels that I showed you earlier. It's also going to need carbon fiber, which is a recipe for carbon mesh and incandescent lamps, etc., etc. What it will also do is double your ores. So if we have, let's say, ruby ore or iron ore, we can put it into the grinder and we'll get 2 dust. With that dust, you can then, okay, this is a bad example to show you. This is also how you get diamond dust, by the way, for those advanced solar panels that I showed you. Here we go. Iron ore turns into 2 raw iron, which we can obviously then smelt up into 1 iron ingot each, meaning you've doubled 1 iron ore into 2 raw iron, and that's with the grinder. Now we can put some machine upgrades in here. I'll be showing you through those later. And then we also have the electric furnace, which is basically an electric version of the furnace and obviously works without any coal needed, and you use electricity. Before you even go into the electrics, though, there is also an iron alloy furnace and an iron furnace that works a little bit better than the basic furnace that you get in Minecraft, but it doesn't need electricity. So these 2 machines you can use before then. There's also a, if I show you down here, a drain, and you can put the drain below water, and this will basically suck up 1 bucket of water from this infinite water source here. And then below it, you can put a tank or a basic water tank. There's actually lots of different tanks. If I show you in here, there's also an advanced, industrial, quantum, and creative version. Creative has no recipe, of course. And you can make these of rubber and a basic storage unit and empty cells. All of these pretty easy to make. And you can then store the water in the drain. So in the basic tank, what you would do is go to configure units and put pull in. I just tick that for automatic, and it will pull from the drain above it the water into the basic tank, which you can then use any kind of pipes or any kind of mod to output this into your water system. The other basic machines we have is an alloy smelter. This will be able to turn things into things like bronze. 3 copper and 1 tin in the alloy smelter makes you bronze. You can make electrum, netherite ingots using 10 gold ingots and netherite scraps, nickel and iron into invar, and zinc and copper into brass. And obviously you just put the copper in the left side and the tin in the right side, and it makes you your alloy, for example. We have the auto crafting table, whereby which you can put your recipe in here, So I can put in my wool. I could just put in the stacks of wool here. And I can also put in my oak planks. And it's going to make me a white bed. What you would then do is have this output slot for the bed. I put this to orange on the right-hand side. And then if I get a chest, and then put auto output, by ticking this, what you'll then see is it goes into the chest automatically, and I can make bed after bed after bed. We also have a compressor, which is used to make things like compressed air and plates. Plates is the main thing we'll be using this for. You can see here refined iron into a refined iron plate. That's in the compressor. We've got the electric furnace, which I think I already showed you that. The extractor, which is interesting. So what the extractor can do is, well, it can extract things like gravel into flint. Lily of the Valley into 2 white dye, whereas I believe if you do it manually, you only get 1 white dye, so it can increase the amount of things you get. You can also make slime balls into rubber, so that's another way you can get that, if you have a slime farm somehow set up. And 1 sap actually equals 3 rubber in the extractor, whereas in the smelter, you only get 1 rubber, so you can also triple your rubber output using that. Then we have the rolling machine. This is going to be used to make things like iron bars, plates, and all sorts of bits and bobs really like that. Nothing too exciting. You might not really have to use this much. The recycler. This is going to take anything that you don't want. Let's say I don't want my white wool. And it's going to turn it into scrap. Now, it won't always make scrap. As you can see here, it's not a guaranteed chance. Oh, and there we go. We've got some scrap. What I can do is turn 9 scrap into a scrap box. And then basically we can open that scrap box and you can see the stuff that you may be able to get in here. There's like 140 different things that you might get in the scrap box. So you can basically kind of turn your unwanted rubbish into scrap, make it into scrap boxes, and then you go into the scrap box innator where you put the scrap boxes, and this is going to automatically open those scrap boxes for you. You are going to need to put an output, of course, because every time it does it, it's going to basically give you a different item. So you want to make sure you're putting the output somewhere with a chest next to it so that you can output all of your new rubbish that you've got. We have the industrial centrifuge. This basically, you can make methane with it. That's the stuff you fart out of your bumhole. Potatoes into methane. Zinc dust into nuggets and things like that. You can put things like podzol in and you'll get literally sand, clay, gravel, plant balls. So you can get loads of different things. You can get, we're not looking into hydrogen and stuff yet. Not in the beginner guide. But you can even still put like a golden apple in with some empty cells and you'll get 64 gold ingots back with some methane as well. So basically the centrifuge whizzes things up into other things. The grinder, haven't we spoken about this already? Yes, we've spoken about the grinder. There's a solid canning machine, which will solid can things. So not really much, like a compressed plant ball, which you compress like leaves and stuff into, with an empty cell will make then biofuel cell. So in the medium voltage and higher, where we're looking at different energy sources, you may want to be making biofuel, for example. Water and tin makes 10k water coolant. That's going to be for like nuclear later on and things like that. That's what the solid canning machine does. We've got the wire mill, which you can make 1 ingot into 6 wires. Wow-wee! Basically, rather than free making 6, now only 1 ingot makes 6. So I would definitely make a wire mill very early on. The elevator, see that up there? That's another elevator. Power them both, and you can just jump and crouch to go up and down, but both must be powered to do so. A block breaker will break what is ever in front of it. So if I put grass in front, you can see here the block breaker's breaking it, whereas the block bracer, I put in grass block. You see it says progress. When it gets to 100, it'll place the block. I break it, it's then going to place another block ever so soon. There we go. Whereas the block breaker will break whatever is in front of it and then store it in the inventory. This is a battery box, and basically you can input energy into any side of it, and then you can output energy from this little dot on the front. So I'm storing energy in here, and you can also put items in here to charge. What items may you want, you may say? Well, we've got a basic chainsaw, which will replace your axe. This is made quite simply. It won't have any energy, and then you can put it into the bat box to basically charge up these electric items. There's an electric chainsaw, a drill for ores, a jackhammer for mining stone, etc., a tree tap for tree tapping, Oh, and there's also a wrench that you can use to configure your items. And that's made of bronze ingots that you make in the alloy smelter. We've got a basic storage unit where basically, as you can see here, it's got grass in because I just put the grass in. I can then put another stack of grass in and it's got 65 in there. Another one, another one, another one. And it tells you how many percentages you've got. And it can store loads of one item basically. And then we can upgrade this to later versions. The last low voltage machine, which is the most complex of them all, is going to be the greenhouse controller. So this is just a creative solar panel I've got on top. Obviously, you can just hook it up with like copper or tin cables. Basically, if we go into the greenhouse controller and press the H button, can you see it's got these little cacti? This is showing you where it will harvest crops. So I've put, you need to put the water and, hoe the ground, etc. yourself. But these wheat crops will actually be harvested by the greenhouse itself. It also shows you where you can put these little lights. So I've got my cables coming up here, and I've placed an incandescent lamp. And basically these lamps, which is what you use with carbon fibre, etc., will speed up, though actually they work as a light, but they also will speed up how quickly your crops grow. So if I planted the rest of my crops over these cactuses, the greenhouse would take care of them. And I can just toggle that with the H. Can be upgraded to powered lamps. Check multi-block hologram for details, which is what I've just shown you. And as you can see, while I've been making this tutorial, I've got 64 wheat seeds and 23 wheat already stored up in here where it is harvesting them. And it can do stuff like glow berries, and it can do literally everything pretty much. You just have to make sure that it's in the area that I showed you. And that is how we use the greenhouse controller to make an automatic farm using Tech Reborn. And that pretty much covers the beginner guide for Tech Reborn. Now, if there's anything that you want to know about or you think is missing, etc., it's probably because it's a bit more advanced. And therefore, you should watch my ultimate guide, which will be in the playlist you see on screen shortly. Or maybe it's already there, I'm not sure. But what do you need to do after this? Well, you start going up into the medium voltage machines and getting more and more advanced. But with these machines that you've got here, it really lays a great foundation for you using this mod that you can use to go into those more complex things. If you're not sure how to make something, just look at the recipe and then work it back until you can make something. That's how I'd recommend that you kind of do it if you want to go it alone. But why do that when you can always just watch the ultimate guide if you would like? Make sure to check out the channel, as there are an insane amount of mod tutorials on here. And this is actually my first foray into Fabric. So if there's any other big popular Fabric mods I honestly may not be aware of, then please do comment below. I'd really love to hear what Fabric mods are out there that you may need help covering with tutorials, etc. It's my life's passion to go for these Minecraft mods and learn them so that you can learn them at ease. So please do subscribe, leave a like, and also check out any other tutorials you may want.